Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Spider-Man figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Across the Spider-Verse Spider-Man 2099. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their website in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Across the Spider-Verse figure review goes live on the channel. This box is absolutely massive. I'm expecting big things from Spider-Man 2099, and yes, terrible pun intended. As for the box art, up front an image of Spidey, but from the movie that's not the actual figure unfortunately. Then in the background, a smattering of portals, this comic book-like dot pattern, and a mirror/chrome effect for the inside of some of those portals. Down below, Spider-Man 2099, then up top and across the Spider-Verse logo. See what I mean with the mirror-like finish? If only it wasn't for the hazy effect and the dot pattern over the top for those sections, they would be actual mirrors, like properly reflective. They're still very shiny though. Down below, Spider-Man 2099, also done in a metallic finish. Then smack bang in the middle on the side of the box, a 2099 Spider-Man symbol. I just realized that the red sections with the blue glow around them, they're meant to be his web lines, and that's why they're wrapped all around the box. On the back, warnings, legal information, and Hot Toys store locations. Oh, I can already tell. This is one sizable Spidey. He's a beast of a 1/6 scale figure. Underneath the slipcover, an open window showcasing Spidey and most of his accessories inside. Around the back, figure photography, showcasing his actual suit versus what they tried to get us to buy with the first prototype. Do you all remember that one? With the visible joints, it looked like a Mondo Spider-Man 2099. I'm so glad they fixed him, because this looks way better than their first attempt. Now, down below, there is a read-up, which you can feel free to pause to read. Oh, and on the side of the box, there's just some geometry, nothing really to write home about. I've been so freaking excited for this. Ever since I saw the updated prototype myself in person in Hong Kong, I've been counting down the days to this guy's arrival. First in-hand impressions, he's big, and he's really heavy. I was not expecting that. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Not quite. Almost everything he comes with. We still need to look at the diorama backdrop, and we will after we're done with this stuff. Starting off with his display base first. It's a hexagonal style base. There's a mix of glossy and matte textured finishes up on top. The spider symbol and the Across the Spider-Verse logo, they're glossy. Around the front, Spider-Man 2099 in a very comic booky looking font. Then up top, an adjustable flight pole and a spring-loaded waist clamp. Please, do yourself a favor. Do not use this. If you have Spidey on this waist clamp long term, it's going to dig into the outfit and absolutely destroy it. The translucent plastic web cape of sorts, there's this janky looking web pattern on the outside, then a dot pattern sculpted in on the inside. It's translucent at the bottom, then it's a more vibrant red up top where it connects to his neck. We've got magnets, and it sits around the neck itself. I'll show you what this looks like on him a little bit later. Taking a leaf out of Hono Studios' book Hot Toys, we've got some slashing effects, like what we got with Hono Studios' Wolverine. They attach to his fingers with these clips. We get a translucent blue one and a translucent red one. I'll show you how these work, don't worry. I don't want to give my thoughts away right now on this head sculpt while it's a floating head. I prefer to discuss head sculpts on bodies, not like this. All you need to know at this very moment is we get a Miguel head sculpt and it's got moving eyes. This is optional. I'm partial to it because it was important in the movie, but you don't have to have him wearing this if you don't want to. The screen opens, that hinge is very tight. Please be extremely careful. This is made of ABS plastic. There's a screen there, another one underneath the lid, and one more on the outside. Rapid fire web effect segment? Yeah, I think so. This is the largest of the bunch. It narrows down where it plugs into his hand. We'll discuss that in a minute. It's self-supporting-ish. It tends to droop down, but that's because this is a really large web effect. The smaller ones do not have that problem. This one is as straight as a pin. There's some orange and then white airbrushed paint apps on the tips to make this look like it's superheated. The smallest of the bunch, if I was ever going to rock him with a web effect, it would probably be this one. I simply don't have the depth in my cabinet to accommodate those. You could use this as either a web swinging one, like he's grabbed a bunch of web as he's swinging through the air, or you can still connect this up to his hand to make it look like he's shooting out a zigzag web. To use the web effects, they've given us these little switch out panels for all of the hands. 6 of these in total. Because this is Spider-Man 2099, he doesn't use a thwipping gesture to shoot his webs, he can do it any way he wants to, really. The hands are labeled on the inside, on the base of them right there. This is L2. So make sure you're grabbing the correct corresponding cap cover piece to go with the hand that you're planning on using. Once you've done that, the peg port isn't a shallow one. It goes all the way through into the hand itself. It's a nice secure connection. When it's plugged in there, this is what you're left with. Lastly, before we move on to the backdrop, a full array of hands, ranging from these closed fists that aren't really just closed fists. They've also got peg ports drilled into them. That way, if you want to use them with this web effect, for example, you can slot that in there, and now he's ready for a web swinging pose. We've got some splayed out finger open palm hands. That red on the inside of the gloves, a really nice touch. The best of the bunch, the red claws, how could you not rock him wearing these? Let's move on to the diorama backdrop. So this is the backdrop. It's meant to be his lair, I believe. We've got the screens showing the multiversal portals. You have to install all of these. The instructions do a terrible job of explaining it, but I'm sure you can figure it out. It's not that complicated. They've stacked multiple pieces of cardboard on top of one another to make it look more three-dimensional. Then down below, you have to flare these out so the thing will stand on its own. And up top, it's sloped down and it matches the slope of this screen on the right. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this. I like cardboard backdrops, especially when they're made of this really thick, sturdy stuff, but it's super tall. And right now, I don't have a ton of height available to accommodate this. What we're going to do now is get Spider-Man 2099 himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. This thing is a monster. He's very stylized, he looks like he's jumped straight out of the movie, and there's no visible joints on display. Remember the first one? This is quite the departure from that. People said once Hot Toys put a fabric outfit on him that he looked like he was wearing pajamas, and congratulations, you won, you got a worse figure out of it, and that he was going to have worse articulation because the joints were no longer visible. Think about that for a second. If there is no outfit over the body, why would articulation be better? Because you need to make sure the joints are aesthetically pleasing, which usually means single bends and limitations. Whereas, with an outfit over the top, now aesthetics of the body underneath completely out the window. You can do double bends, you can have gaps that the padded fabric makes up for. You don't need to stress about that. So I reckon, even though he's wearing a suit, this figure not only looks better, but he's going to have better articulation as well. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Miguel's masked head sculpt. You need to sort of suspend your disbelief when you're looking at these head sculpts side by side, because there is no way a dude with a wide jawline like this is going to look like this when he's got his mask on. It's how he looked in the animation though, so they get away with it. Like I said, suspend your disbelief. I love this sculpt. It's sleek, it's skinny for the chin, extremely stylized. And we've got the raised detail work for the eyes, plus the finish match between the sculpted plastic head sculpt and the rubbery material for the suit is perfect. And we've got that UV reflective paint for the patterns not only on the head sculpt, but the entire suit. Now I'm curious to see what he looks like with the Miguel head sculpt on, so let's try it out. Dude, this sculpt is so good. Please help me out down in the comments. Do I rock him like this, or do we switch back to the mask long term in the collection? The reason why I'm leaning towards this sculpt is, number one, I cannot get enough of that expression. The intense furrowed brow makes him look pissed off. And number two, he's got moving eyes, so you can shift the eye position around to help sell a pose. This sculpt is arguably the more dynamic of the two options. There's no skin texture, so it matches that animation aesthetic they were going for. It's done in a matte finish, and there's a little bit of shading, like right there around his cheeks, you can spot the shading. Could they have gone heavier with the shading? Maybe, but this looks just right to me. Then we get to the hair. It curls outwards on either side, you can see the hair around the back, and we've got these strands around the front. It's made of PVC plastic, so these are not going to break on you, even if you put some pressure on them when you're installing or removing this head sculpt. Let's try out a couple of different eye positions because I want to see what looks best on this head. His skin tone may look a touch dark at first. I went back and looked at reference pics from the movie, and this is about right to me. To move the eyes around, it's a hollow head sculpt, and there's plenty of access. You don't even need to use the tool if you don't want to. Your finger works just as well. I like this head sculpt even more with some side-eye action. Looking up at you through his furrowed brow? Yeah, it's very quickly winning me over. Nah, you cannot tell me that that right there doesn't look incredible. I might overdo the side-eye every now and then, but with a head tilt forward, angling the sculpt, introducing some shadow off to this side, I may have just unlocked my permanent display option for Miguel. Ooh, also not bad, looking very up. So much so that you can't actually see his pupils. Tilting the head sculpt all the way forward, it doesn't matter, at least he's looking up at you. Not something I'm likely to use though, I much prefer the side eye. A touch on the goofy side, I reckon it can work in the right pose. Head tilt back, looking down. Yeah, a bit of craziness there, but this is Miguel. He's a vampire Spidey. There's no reason why you couldn't have him lunging forward at Miles, looking down all crazy like. Speaking of vampire, all white eyes. Also an option. To get here, just move the eyes all the way in any direction, and eventually the pupils and irises will disappear entirely, and you'll be left with this. I've actually never tried this before. Eyes off to the side, but looking down instead of up. Head tilt back, he looks inquisitive. And that's the benefit of moving eyes. Simply by adjusting where he's looking and then doing the head tilt in either direction, you can completely alter the expression of the head sculpt. It makes it way more versatile. But enough messing around with different eye positions, let's pop the mask back on. Still a beastly cohesive look with the mask on. I'm really struggling. This is one of those figures where no matter what you do, he just looks sensational. So I'll wait to hear what you have to say in the comments. Around the back, visible padded back muscles, like they protrude a lot, and very broad shoulders. All of the line work on the red sections of the outfit, that is 3D and textural, you can feel it on the surface. Whereas the printing for the blue fabric, It's just that, printing. This is almost completely smooth, but the panel lines, you can feel them. Back around the front, it seems like most of this would be padding, but it isn't. The traps, sculpted plastic. The shoulders, sculpted plastic for this ridge up top. Big sculpted plastic biceps. The abs are slightly squishy, but even there, plastic backed. And the same thing can be said for the pecs, only a little squishy. The detail work for the spider symbol, that is textural, like the red details around the back. And we've got these red vents on either side underneath his pecs. Look at those biceps. Huge. Bigger than the width of my thumb. These things are enormous. But his arms get a lot skinnier towards the wrists. These spikes are part of these bits on his gauntlet. They look separate because there's a seam there. They're actually clamped over the top of his outfit and they're plugged in through the fabric. They are not removable, but they're separate sculpted plastic pieces. They're done in a matte finish, and we've got some panel line detail sculpted in. He's a Dorito, I think is what we're calling it nowadays. The broad shoulders, the narrow waist, Dorito, yeah? I think I'm right on that. But that's exactly how I describe him. There's not as much musculature on the sides of his body, it's more so around the front and then the back for these big back muscles. Coming down to his legs, chonky thighs, but not overdone. His waist is skinny enough. It doesn't bulge out or look weird or anything. There's a protrusion for his crotch area, and the fabric sits a bit lower than that sculpted crotch piece. You can shift it round. It's flexible enough so that it should stretch to accommodate posing. Coming down to his ankles, you can see the seam between the foot and the bottom of the calf. That, I'm not a huge fan of. You all know me, I don't like visible bunching at the ankles, and that's exactly what it is. On the underside, no sculpted tread, completely smooth, but a red matte finish. It's time to try out some stuff. First of all, let's pop the cape on. So not my thing. This cape is cool in a way, and it's movie accurate. It was this translucent, techie looking thing. But in 1/6 scale, the way they've done it, how it sits out and sticks off his back like this, it's horizontal. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. If it was hanging naturally down his back, then potentially. But like this, it adds way too much depth to Spidey. Trying to accommodate it in a tight display where you don't have depth to be able to fit this, it simply ain't gonna happen. Not to mention, it's spiky around the front, and spiky at the back, including up top there. It could dig into his outfit if you're not careful. There's magnets for the trap sections. They do a decent enough job of holding it in place, but it's not the most secure thing in the world either. I've removed the cape, and I've instead installed his wristwatch of multiversal travelingness. Not sure exactly how to describe it, but it's well painted. You can open this top screen, and it hides the wrist peg. Not that it was all that visible really anyway, but the seam now is completely hidden. The outfit is so sleek without this silver bulky wristwatch on, and it puts a lot of pressure on the suit underneath it. Ooh, neat slashing effects. We've got translucent blue and translucent red. I prefer the red, personally, because his outfit is already blue. There's enough blue on the rest of him. I want to introduce some more red to the mix. This can be angled, pose depending, and you can install it on pretty much any finger as long as that finger is chonky enough to accommodate that gripping point right there. I'm not sure if the pinky is going to be able to get that done. Are they essential? Not really, but I love it when they experiment with stuff like this. And with stuff like this, his translucent red plastic, fiery tipped, geometric web effect pieces. They're self-supporting with this lattice work, so they're not going to droop down on you, I don't believe. And they're plugged into the tops of the hands. Don't forget the covers with the peg ports in them that you have to switch out on the hands to make them compatible with these web effect pieces. They're labeled. So match up the correct cap cover pieces with the correct hands, and achieving this is really easy. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I knew Miguel was big, but he towers over into the Spider-Verse miles. Will the Across the Spider-Verse one be taller? Potentially, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, this pairing ain't half bad. You forgot about this one, didn't you? The PS4 Spidey Game 2099 suit. He is shorter than the animated version of himself. I much prefer the exaggerated huge proportions of the figure on the left. Even though the one on the right is more realistic, it's less stylized. Going over articulation, starting off with his head sculpt. There's a ball joint at the base of the neck and a double ball peg up underneath the head itself. So just the neck will look forward to there, then combined with the head sculpt even further forward. Looking up to there, plenty of range for a jumping or web swinging pose perhaps. We've also got swivel and tons of pivot side to side. He's got some big bulky shoulders, but still his arms go up to there, no problem. Forward and back, the joint's a bit stiff, but you can work with it. There's a butterfly at the shoulder that also hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. There's a lot of padding for the ab section, but crunching forward to there comfortably, going back to there, swivel, and some pivot side to side. His legs go forward to there. Just be mindful of the outfit because it is tucking into the hip joint crevice. You wouldn't want to pinch that in there and do any damage. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee going past 90. Then a hinge and swivel for the ankles plugged into the foot at an angle. So we get forward and back, rotation, plus ratcheted ankle tilt. I've never seen ratcheted ankle tilt before, but I'm kinda here for it. And lastly, toe articulation. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is you see these gauntlet spikes? Pretty cool. But they're made of ABS. That is not a flexible plastic. If you push these, or bump them, or put pressure on them when you're posing him, you're going to snap them. So be extremely careful. I would have liked some spares in the box, just in case they break. The second annoying thing is, please Hot Toys, we want options. You'll know damn well that if we leave Spidey 2099 in this waist clamp, we're going to destroy his outfit. This is going to dig into it. This is your most versatile base mold. It's not only flight pole compatible, but it works with crotch grabbers. So why not chuck one of these in the box? If you are giving us a hexagonal base, include both options. If they decide not to do that going forward, I'm going to be selling this crotch grabber model anyway, that's compatible with Hot Toys bases, and it's got rubber tips up top. I really shouldn't need to do that though. They should just throw them in. The third annoying thing, this cape is sick. It's held in place with magnets, it slots around his neck, you saw it earlier, but it's solid sculpted plastic. These spikes are quite sharp, this is prickly around the back, that is sharp. I reckon it's going to dig into his outfit and cause irreversible damage. Some padding would have been nice, just white foam probably would have done the trick. Or they could have used a softer PVC plastic instead of this more sturdy one. The first cool thing, I've in the past complained about this because it's not a feature I would ever use. But if you like it, then all the power to you. It's the luminous reflective paint effect. If you happen to have a black light set up in your collection, you can make use of the patterns that reveal themselves under that black light. The second cool thing, I'm struggling to pick cool things because there's so many. The Miguel head sculpt, the cape, the effect pieces. I ended up going with the multiversal wristwatch thing because being able to flip open the screen and seeing printing on the inside of the lid and the outside, this thing is fully detailed all the way around and I love it. The third cool thing is his diorama backdrop. It may very well be just cardboard, but it's thick, sturdy cardboard. I like the shape of the background, and once you install the screens, they add a little bit of depth to it. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Spider-Man 2099 from across the Spider-Verse. Part of me almost wishes they gave us the visible joint one, just because it would have been a fun review to rant and rave about how unaesthetically pleasing it is. But I can't do that, because this thing is darn near perfect. How did they go from a fail to a grail? Because that's what I reckon this is going to be. The proportions are so spot on accurate, and you can see the musculature underneath the outfit, or part of the outfit, however they've done it. That, people were really worried about. When they made the jump from sculpted plastic to fabric, concerns were raised. But now that this guy has been released, they solved for all of the issues that I was worried about. This may not be your bread and butter, and I understand. This is what Hot Toys are all about. Seamless wherever possible. They want to make it look like you've taken Spider-Man 2099 out of the animation and popped him in your cabinet. Visible joints? I don't remember him having visible joints in the movie. It's a cop-out for me to say that, I know, because I also collect 1/12 scale figures and they've got visible joints everywhere. But still, this is Hot Toys we're talking about. They needed to go seamless. This was the right call. A decent array of accessories, the backdrop is fantastic, and the Miguel head sculpt? I'm going to rock it. I've gone back and forth, it was a bit of a roller coaster ride earlier on. I've decided Miguel head sculpt with some side-eye and head tilt action. The cape, not interested. The web effects, also not my vibe. Either way, you've got options. They delivered the goods with this. And now I cannot wait to get more across the Spider-Verse figures. Now, I got my Spidey 2099 at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.